Welcome back to Galaxy Recaps. Today we'll be diving into an action thriller film titled Killing Them Softly. Enjoy the recap. The movie kicks off with Frankie strolling through a windy street, his jacket flapping in the breeze. Nearby, a man wrangling a pack of 10 dogs gets scolded for showing up late. The scene quickly shifts to an interview room where Frankie tries to land his friend Russell a job with Johnny, a big-time player. But Johnny isn't interested. He brushes Russell off, telling him to leave and come back on Thursday. Before Frankie heads out, Johnny launches into stories about his years behind bars and warns Frankie to find someone else. When Thursday rolls around, Frankie asks Russell if he's ready for the follow-up, but Russell shrugs it off. He's got other plans. He's selling his dogs, buying some gear, and stepping into the world of dealing. Russell ditches the interview, leaving Frankie to handle things alone. At the meeting, Frankie vouches hard for Russell, but Johnny isn't convinced. Instead, Johnny asks if Russell can handle a card game job. Frankie reassures him they can both manage, but questions why they'd even want to do it. That's when Johnny dives into a backstory. There was a time when a guy named Mary ran the underground card scene. Business was booming and players flooded in with pockets full of cash. Tempted by the riches, Mary orchestrated a heist on his own operation, hiring 2 gunmen to rob his own card room. The games shut down and the victims brought in a guy named Dylan to track down the culprits. Dylan's investigation led him straight to Mary's doorstep. Things got ugly fast. Dylan pressed hard for answers, but when nothing came of it, he let it go, and eventually, the games resumed. One night during a regular game, Mary casually admits to the heist in front of the players. Surprisingly, they let it slide. It wasn't their money on the line. But Johnny sees an opportunity. He warns that if another robbery goes down, Mary will take the heat, guilty or not. Frankie agrees to the job on one condition: Russell needs to be part of it. Frankie wastes no time pulling Russell in, laying out the plan. As they prep for the heist, they start fantasizing about how they'll spend their cut, flashy cars and easy living. But Russell's mood shifts. He shares disturbing memories from his prison days, spiraling into dark, unsettling rants as they drive to the job. When they arrive, Frankie parks, and the two gear up, masks, gloves, and a sawed-off shotgun. It's go time. They creep alongside the building, quietly slipping inside. The game room hums with chatter until Frankie and Russell burst in, weapons raised. The room freezes. Even Mary is caught off guard. Mary keeps his cool, instructing the rookies on what to do next. He leads them toward the back, moving past stunned players as he heads for the cash. But the tension weighs on Frankie and his nerves start to fray. As Mary collects the money, he leans in, whispering to Russell that the men outside are ready to kill him. There's a way out though. Just put the gun down and walk away. Mary even offers to deal with Frankie if Russell makes the right move. Russell hesitates for a moment, eyeing the cash as Frankie snaps at him to move faster. Marky, one of the players, pops open the suitcases, revealing stacks of cash. Without further delay, Russell proceeds with the robbery, rifling through the money while Frankie keeps his shotgun aimed at the men. Frankie demands more, forcing the players to empty their wallets. He raises his voice, warning them that if he pulls the trigger, no one walks out alive. One by one, the players toss their cash onto the table, and Russell scoops it all into a bag. Russell sprints outside with the loot, leaving Frankie to make his exit. Frankie backs away slowly, gun raised, until he's at a safe distance, then bolts, catching up with Russell. They dive into their car, hearts racing as they speed off into the night. The job? A success. Meanwhile, elsewhere in the city, rain pours relentlessly as a man named Jackie arrives at a secluded house. He approaches a car parked by the curb. Inside sits driver and associate who explains that Dylan, Jackie's usual contact, is out of commission. Jackie's been brought in as a replacement. Driver fills him in. Mary's game got hit last night, seemingly by a couple of amateurs. Jackie doubts Mary would be foolish enough to rob his own game twice, but he agrees to investigate. The games need to be back on. Too many people are losing money. Driver mentions that the committee wants Jackie to rough up Mary just to send a message. Later that night, a sleek car glides silently through an empty street. Barry and Steve, Jackie's enforcers, are on assignment to handle Mary. They park and wait. Eventually, Mary pulls up in his car and heads toward his house. Barry and Steve step out, guns drawn, and order him to get in their car. Mary stands his ground, daring them to pull the trigger. But after some tense moments, he relents and gets in. At their destination, Mary refuses to get out. He knows Barry and Steve well and insists he had nothing to do with the robbery. The men argue in the rain, but eventually, Mary steps out, swearing on everything he holds dear that he's innocent. Barry doesn't buy it. He lands a punch to Mary's stomach, followed by a series of brutal hits to his face. Mary crumples, but Barry keeps going until Steve steps in. Steve offers Mary a chance. Just give up the kids responsible, and they'll walk away. But Mary insists he doesn't know. The beating continues. Eventually, Mary collapses, spitting blood. Steve, annoyed by the mess, suggests they call it a night. The two leave Mary bruised and broken in the pouring rain. The next day, Frankie and Russell are living large, riding the high from their score. They joke around, laughing as Russell hands Frankie a bag full of cash. That night, Russell heads out with his friend Kenny, driving through a thunderstorm with 10 dogs crammed in the backseat. The situation spirals into chaos, mud, rain, and barking dogs turning the ride into a nightmare. Frustrated, Russell tells Kenny to torch the car. Kenny, who boasts he's burned hundreds of vehicles, agrees. But the plan goes sideways when Kenny accidentally sets himself on fire. He later recounts the ridiculous story to Frankie, who can't stop laughing. Russell, meanwhile, starts to unravel. Flush with cash, he spirals into reckless indulgence, losing himself in his newfound fortune. The success of the heist sends him drifting further into a dangerous, carefree mindset, one that could spell trouble for both him and Frankie. Frankie tries to keep a conversation going with Russell, but it's like talking to someone phasing between alternate realities. One second Russell's there, then he's gone, drifting off into bizarre tangents before snapping back. Frankie starts losing it, realizing just how far gone his friend really is. Things take a turn when Frankie finds out that Russell's buddy Kenny works for Dylan. Frankie's furious. Russell just made a colossal mistake, and now paranoia starts eating away at him. Meanwhile, Jackie updates Driver about the robbery. Turns out, Russell had the nerve to ask Teddy if he wanted to partner up, and Teddy, unsure, ran the idea by Jackie. Driver can't believe how reckless and loud the robbers are. But he's also annoyed at Jackie for going too hard on Mary. Half the guy's bones are shattered. Jackie shrugs it off. He's not the type to kill up close, he prefers sniping from a distance. Jackie tells Driver to call Mickey for backup. When Mickey shows up at the airport, he looks like he walked straight out of a mafia flick. Sharp suit, cold stare. They offer him $115,000 for 2 days of work. Without missing a beat, Mickey links up with Jackie but immediately starts griping about the drinks and service. Over dinner, Mickey shares that things aren't great back home. He got caught with a shotgun he just bought, but he's trying to beat the case in court. Mickey's marriage is already hanging by a thread. His wife almost left him last time he was locked up. If he goes down again, it's over for good. Jackie listens, but business comes first. Jackie lays it out. There are 2 people Mickey needs to handle. Later, Jackie meets with Kenny, who's now wrapped up in the operation. As they talk, Jackie spots Marky outside the window. Without hesitation, he follows him. Jackie climbs into the back of Kenny's car and tells him to drive slow when they pass Mary. The moment Mary's in range, Jackie rolls down the window and fires. The first shot shatters glass in a flawless hit. Jackie keeps pulling the trigger, riddling Mary with bullets until his gun clicks empty. Mary's car lurches forward and slams into oncoming traffic. His death couldn't have been more violent. Later, Jackie heads to Mickey's place. Mickey's been partying nonstop, drowning himself in booze and nostalgia. Jackie's patience thins as Mickey rambles on about the good old days, tears welling in his eyes. Jackie finally snaps. He needs Mickey sober tonight. But Mickey refuses, slurring that he can't do the job. Jackie explodes, shouting for him to get his act together, stop drinking, and get some sleep. Mickey fires back, yelling in drunken frustration. Jackie storms out, telling Mickey he'll be calling in 5 hours and he better be ready. Frustrated, Jackie vents to Driver. Bringing Mickey was a mistake. 3 days in and the guy's done nothing but party. Jackie knows time's running out and things are about to spiral out of control. Jackie decides it's time to deal with Mickey. Since Mickey's on probation and wasn't supposed to leave town, Jackie plans to get his bail revoked, sending him straight back to jail and out of the way. Meanwhile, Russell's spiraling out of control, wandering the streets like a man possessed. A pair of cops watch him from a distance, exchanging glances. When Russell heads to his locker, one officer radios for all units to move in. As soon as Russell pops the lock and starts rummaging inside, squad cars screech onto the scene. Officers flood the area, pinning Russell before he even knows what's happening. They slap on the cuffs and read him his rights as he's dragged away. News of the arrest travels fast. Frankie hears about it and heads straight to Johnny. Frankie can't shake the guilt. Russell wasn't the brightest, but he didn't deserve this. Johnny, however, brushes it off, telling Frankie to let it go. The scene shifts. Gunshots echo in the distance as a man screams for people to get off his block. Inside a dimly lit pub, Jackie slides onto the stool next to Frankie. Frankie's caught off guard, not realizing who just sat down beside him. Jackie leans in and casually mentions he's been looking for Frankie. Word on the street said he hangs around this place. Frankie's blood runs cold. He's desperate to know why Jackie's after him. Jackie doesn't mince words. Frankie needs to start covering his tracks. Jackie asks him outright where Johnny will be tomorrow night. Frankie panics. He knows Jackie's connected to Dylan, and the weight of that realization nearly breaks him. Stammering, Frankie insists he doesn't know where Johnny will be. Jackie stands up to leave, but Frankie's trembling hand stops him. Frankie caves, muttering that he might have an idea. Jackie isn't there to force him, he's offering Frankie a chance. Jackie warns that Johnny wouldn't hesitate to sell Frankie out if the roles were reversed. After wrestling with his conscience, Frankie finally breaks, agreeing to drive Jackie to Johnny's location the following night. When the time comes, Frankie drives in silence, nervously glancing at Jackie as they approach Johnny's spot. He tries one last time to talk Jackie down, but Jackie isn't biting. Moments later, Johnny's car pulls up. Jackie watches as Johnny steps out, coughing violently. A woman climbs out from the passenger side, but Johnny doesn't head inside, he lingers by the car. Jackie seizes the opportunity. He slips out of the vehicle, gun in hand, and calmly approaches Johnny. Frankie stays behind, frozen. Jackie doesn't hesitate. As Johnny hacks away, Jackie closes the distance and finishes him off, leaving him sprawled on the ground. Frankie bolts the second it's over, tires screeching as he speeds away. Jackie calmly tells him to slow down, warning that the cops will notice if they're reckless. Frankie ignores him, foot glued to the gas. Sirens wail in the distance. Finally, Frankie pulls over and they switch seats. Eventually, they park in a secluded lot. Frankie, jittery and pale, says he's wiping down the car and swapping to another vehicle. Jackie's heard enough. He meticulously wipes the car for prints, then walks away without another word. Cool and composed, Jackie disappears into the night. Later, the bodies of Johnny and Frankie are found, neatly disposed of, as if they never existed. In the final scene, Jackie walks through the streets, his silhouette cutting against the flickering lights of the city. He meets with Driver, quietly observing as Barack Obama's speech echoes through the pub's TV. Driver sighs, relieved that for now things seem calm. Jackie, however, isn't interested in sentiment. He leans in and says plainly, he's not looking for favors, just cash. Jackie steps away to count his payment. When he returns, he isn't pleased. Driver hands him $10,000 per hit, but Jackie was expecting $155,000. Driver argues Dylan charged $10,000 a person. Jackie fires back, reminding him that Mickey was supposed to take out 2 targets for $30,000. And now that he's out of the picture, Jackie wants $45,000. Driver suggests calling Dylan to settle the dispute. Jackie calmly informs him that Dylan died that morning. With no backup and no excuses, Driver folds under Jackie's glare and hands over the full amount. Jackie pockets the cash and walks out, vanishing into the night. Just another job done. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.